This video's topic is the upper register of the trumpet. It's kind of a hot button issue for all of us trumpet players because it's a crucial sound that we're expected to utilize in a lot of our music. And especially if you think about all the really kind of epic trumpet moments, it pretty much usually involves the upper register of the instrument. And so it's really important that we understand the upper register of the trumpet and learn how to develop it. This video is going to address how the upper register of the trumpet works, some things that you can practice, some exercises that I'll give you, and then just some considerations when you're practicing the upper register to think about. There's a lot of kind of myths and misinformation about playing in the high register of the trumpet. Sometimes we think it's all about popping in a shallower mouthpiece. Sometimes we think that we need to just like press really hard. There's all sorts of things that we see in videos of professional players, but usually that's extreme high register playing. And none of us, unless we're planning on being a lead player in a jazz band or something like that, we don't really need to access that register. And so it should really look easier than you might see someone like Maynard Ferguson or Arturo Sandoval doing when they play in their extreme high register. Practicing in the upper register is something that can cause a lot of frustration and even discomfort. And if you feel pain while you're practicing the upper register, you need to stop immediately. And I'll talk about that later on. But just know that it's going to be frustrating and you are going to have failures. But if we don't have failures, then we don't really learn. And so I can speak from personal experience. The upper register of the trumpet is extremely frustrating. And I'm there with you. I work on it every day, and it's certainly better for me now than it was years ago. But it's been quite a journey, but I've learned a lot, and I feel that makes me qualified to help you discover your own path into playing high notes well. Okay, so how do high notes on the trumpet work? Well, it's all about the airstream. We need to manipulate the airstream to be faster for higher notes and slower for lower notes. And so if you just do this with me, pretend like you're, let's say, cooling soup. So you have your spoon out here and just blow gently across the surface of the soup. Okay, so try that out. And now pretend like you're maybe holding up a piece of paper and you have to blow and maintain it. So you're blowing on a certain spot, right? So there's a difference there. One has the cooling soup is a little bit more gentle. And so again, that looks like this. And keeping a paper kind of suspended looks a little bit more like. So the airspeed changed, and I want you to look at my embouchure and see the difference. So the first one, cooling soup, or playing a lower note on the trumpet, looks like this, and the second one looks like this. So the difference that you can see is the difference in the opening in my lips, which we call the aperture. And that's a really important area to be focused on when you're playing the high notes. Higher notes need a smaller aperture because it helps speed up the air. The airstream on the trumpet kind of works like a triangle. It should be open down at the bottom and then very focused and pointed at the top. And so when we're working on our high register, we need to be really conscious of the aperture and how to kind of create natural compression in the mouth. But you can start right now by just going like, and getting some fast air moving. You can put your hand out front to feel, it should feel cool. So all those things, those are the basics of playing in the upper register. So now the question might be, okay, what do I practice? How do I start approaching my upper register? And the answer is going to be with simple exercises such as scales and arpeggios. And I'm also going to be talking about pitch bends, which I have a separate video explaining those. So make sure to check that one out. But so we want to just take simple exercises like a scale. So I like 5-note scales to just work on the upper register. And so let's say that you're a player who's struggling to get up to a G at the top of the staff. So I would start my 5-note scales on a G below and play like this. And so you're going to want to play them softly, probably around a mezzo piano, because we don't want to tax ourselves. And it's really important for me to stress that it should be easy when you go up into the upper register. Just like I said before, if you're looking at like high note players and it looks like they're going, then some of that is an element of show, and some of that is that they're playing in an extreme high register on the trumpet that we don't need to be playing in. So then you could just go up diatonically. So I started on a G, I might go up to okay, so, and then I'm just working methodically, systematically up to the highest note. And then if I'm working up to a G, I'm going to get up to a C for my starting note. Then if I find that to be really easy, then I might as well keep going. And so the same thing can apply if your highest usable note is around a high C, then you can start on an F. You might have seen me do something a little bit different in that one. I raised my eyebrows as I was going up. And this helps because it just keeps my face looking easy, and it keeps my face and the rest of my body free of tension. And so the eyebrow trick is something that I use with my students all the time. So if I want to play up to a higher note, I just raise my eyebrows, and again, it looks easy. Just like if we were to look to a professional musician and kind of describe the qualities of how they look when they're doing something that we consider difficult, it looks easy for them. And that's important while we work on our upper register, that we make sure that it also looks easy. So I talked about using pitch bends to help us go into the upper register. Again, you can check out that other video for a better explanation of pitch bends, but they basically help our embouchure operate at peak efficiency. And so maybe if you're taking an arpeggio, you can add a pitch bend at the beginning of it. If you're using a scale, again, you could also start things off with a pitch bend. The other thing that I forgot to say before that's really important is as you go up into the upper register, it's crucial that you think forward. Our air is going forward. The kind of triangle of trumpet playing is going forward, and it's important that we don't think of them as higher. If we think of them as higher, then we're probably going to like pinch and do kind of unnatural things to get the result that we want. And the other thing is using the forwards motion of the embouchure. I call it pucker. Using that more than the opposite of that, which is adding mouthpiece pressure. So as you're approaching your higher notes, make sure that you're moving your lips forward into the mouthpiece as much as you can and not kind of clamping down with mouthpiece pressure. The last exercise for working on the high register that I'll show you is just a simple glissando exercise. And so this might be for more advanced players, high school players, but anyone can try it out. It's important that you make sure that things are easy and that you're playing softly. So I just start on a low G and I want to glissando up to a G on top of the staff. And I don't really care about the quality of notes in between, but I do want to pause on either end. It sounds like this. And then I'd go up by half steps. And so I'm playing them really quietly, and you'll notice it's not seeming difficult for me. And so I want you to try this out. And if it is difficult, then make sure that you don't succumb to that and succumb to the kind of, idea that, okay, maybe if I press harder or play louder, I'll get the notes. If they're not working soft, they're not working. And so it might be a little bit more out of your reach. But keep playing those 5-note scales and play them softly, and you'll get control. And one day you'll be able to play as high as you need to in your band music. To conclude here, I just want to make sure that you all know that we're all on a spectrum, we're all on a journey, and I think it's really easy to get handed a part in your band music or audition for something or play a solo piece, and there's that one high note that is just giving you all sorts of, apprehension, and you're terrified of that high note. You have to understand that a lot of the music that gets written for trumpet players is starting to progress at a faster rate than we're able to kind of naturally figure out how to play the trumpet. And so you can combat that by practicing the upper register on a daily basis. But also just know that if you can't hit that high note right now, that's okay. I would rather have you go for the better practices and better habits of playing in the upper register softly and not using too much pressure, those sorts of things, rather than like, oh yeah, I nailed the high note. So that's where I'll leave things. Just make it easy and have fun, and just kind of go for 1% improvements every day or every time you practice, and over time those will really add up. Okay, good luck as you practice in the upper register.